I'm Elizabeth Treasure. I work at Oxford University Counselling Service as a counsellor and CBT therapist, and I've worked here for 25 years. I started out as a teacher in secondary school education and moved into counselling and therapy. The counselling service is available to all students at the university. They come to us with a wide range of problems. We see about 12% of the student body. And we offer one-to-one counselling and group work and workshops. For so many students I see, the goal has been getting into university. So they've worked towards it, it's been the focus. They may have been given a lot of support to get there. They may have struggled on their own. And that's the big end goal, getting their place and getting in. And then problems can emerge because it can be a very difficult transition to make for many young people. For a variety of reasons. Sometimes there has been a lot of support and suddenly they're having to fend for themselves. Sometimes, often, there's been a lot of structure. For lucky ones, at school, there's a lot of clear structure, and at home. And that's not always the case when they find themselves at university. So some students do find making that transition easier than others. They seem to find people from similar backgrounds, they seem to fit in very quickly, they sort of get that support network and structure going, or they feel that it's there waiting for them. And they often are the ones who seem to hit the ground running and then carry on and have a good time at university. But for some students, it doesn't work as easily as that. One of the common problems is people feeling they don't fit in, that somehow they're in the wrong place. And that feeling can come from a number of reasons. Sometimes there really is the objective reality that they come from a minority group, and they do find that they feel the odd one out or very little representation of any group that they can easily identify with. One of the things I want to be very clear about is that there often is an objective reality, and things sometimes happen that shouldn't happen. There is discriminatory behaviour. People might meet prejudice, whether that's for colour, for accent, for social class, for a disability, and a physical disability or a mental health disability. It's absolutely right and critical that institutions take responsibility for protecting the rights of minority groups and making sure that bullying, racism, discriminatory behaviour is called out. However, we know that the world doesn't always work the way it should. My work with students is to help them manage their lives within a system that can often be unfair. The really sad thing is if a student faces bullying or feeling a sense of not belonging, that they feel there's something wrong with them and that they don't belong. That's the important message that we have to help our students think about. Any individual who gets to a university has the right to make that university their own. So that is partly in the external world and what they meet, but their own individual experience of not feeling that they don't belong, actually claiming it. Now that's a difficult message sometimes with students, because the important thing is not that anything is their fault or that they have to solve all the problems, but to help them build resilience, to find ways that they do feel more confident, more empowered. That's great work to do. One of the common things I find working with individual students is they think, I'm the only one, I don't fit in, other people are all having a great time, or they seem very confident, they're getting on with their lives, and I'm the one that's different. It can be very revealing for students, therefore, to work in groups. I've run lots of groups for social anxiety, and it's quite remarkable how the range of different people who sign up for a group like that, wanting help for social anxiety. Some people will be clearly shy and awkward and feel that they lack certain social skills, while others seem to be confident, seem to fit in, seem to know what to say, and yet they're all saying that their internal experience of what it's like to be a young adult reaching out, making new friends, trying to negotiate this complex world. They're all saying, in those who volunteer for groups like this, that they're finding it very difficult. Our experience at the Counselling Service and feedback from students is that their experience of being in groups with their peers is transformative. Rather than the individual struggling with their own narrative, their own beliefs about the world, they can start to hear other people's experiences and recognise how much they've got in common with people that might look and sound very different, apparently, but when they start sharing their experiences, they feel part of a shared experience. There are, of course, students who come with more complex histories, more difficult stories. One of the great privileges working with young adults is that it's a chance to think in a safe, confidential environment about an individual's experience with them. They can start to see that they don't have to be trapped by things from the past. They start to have more choice. They can both actually who they choose to spend time with. You know, even at school, where you have very little choice about who your classmates are, there can be a feeling of travelling up through school with the same old experience. It can be a chance at 18, 19 to change that, to experiment, try different things in the world, meet more people, but also think about the narrative, the story, the beliefs that people have formed about themselves and the world and other people. And it can be very empowering to have even brief counselling to realise that we can start to free ourselves from things that we thought were fixed, and can realise that there are new opportunities to change and develop and change the narrative and free ourselves from problems that have haunted us, perhaps. And of course, all of this is in the context of the student's primary reason to be at university, to study, to get a degree. A lot of students are overwhelmed by managing their work. It's either a lot more complex work than they've been given before, or there isn't the same support and structure. They might have longer term goals or great long reading lists, and they don't know how to manage. Meanwhile, they're also having to take care of themselves, maybe in a way they haven't had to do before. Buying food, cooking, clothes washing, etc. And they can often feel overwhelmed. So many students get very anxious about the demands of work and end up working too hard, putting in too many hours, not necessarily productively, because they get stressed and exhausted. Some students feel so overwhelmed that they get depressed. Now, one of the things that I can help students understand is that, yes, they might need to work, but it's about finding a holistic way to manage this transition so that they can keep on track. And that often means thinking about work-life balance in a very meaningful way. How many hours should they be spending working? And actually, how many hours do they need to be doing chores, expanding their social life, keeping up interests and hobbies that make life actually worth living? When a student comes to me who is feeling lack of motivation and low mood, there are very specific things we can do to help. First of all, check out, is it real lack of motivation, or is it a kind of lack of energy and bewilderment that we can then help them understand and explore? Often they're feeling guilty for not working, and when they feel guilty, that makes their mood even lower. What we can help them see is there might be other ways, strategies of getting going again, rather than thinking, I should be up at 8 o'clock and in the library, and if not, I'm a failure. We can actually get things going again by encouraging them to get support from a friend, get to a cafe and get started reading in a cafe before putting in a whole day's work in the library. This can often be actually eye-opening for them, that there are strategies and alternative ways to get a system going. And this is really important for them to remember that probably only a few months ago, they had to be at school at a certain time, there were lesson structures, there were people giving them goals, and now they have to work that out for themselves. And with support from us, we find that students can be helped enormously and then help themselves gain access to their flourishing student life. I meet students from very different backgrounds. I meet a student who perhaps both parents have been to Oxford or maybe Cambridge, and they feel it is their destiny or their, the expectation to do as well or even better. And that can be quite a weight on their shoulders. Equally, I meet a student who is the first one from their family to come to university, maybe the first one from their community. And that's an incredible pressure on them. Often there's financial issues behind it, and just the pride that the family feel. And they're so anxious about letting everyone down. So if you're a teacher or one of the other people working in education or helping support young people get to university, you're doing a really good job. I see the results of young people who would never have got to a place like Oxford a generation ago, getting here and successfully making this place their own and leaving here with degrees to be proud of. What I would ask you to remember is that getting here is not the end. That if students can remember to think ahead about what they might want to know, not just what subject and what university, but what might they want to know about what life will be like for them there. Look around at what sort of environment, what sort of support is available, and remind them that it might not be easy. It isn't because they're not up to it, it's that transition means change, and change can be difficult. But you might get them thinking about how they want to live at university and think about structure, developing a new life for themselves, so that it isn't just a goal and just about getting a degree, but really enjoying the journey.